Look, everyone talks about compounding like it's this magic formula, right? Put in $1, wait long enough, and boom, you're rich. But here's the thing nobody really tells you. The way millionaires actually use compounding is completely different from the way the rest of us were taught. And it's not just about money stacking on money, it's about habits, psychology, even the way they set up their lives. I'll give you an example. When I first learned one of these compounding tricks, it had nothing to do with investing. It was literally about how I spent the first 10 minutes of my morning, and the ripple effect was insane. That's when it hit me. If small changes can compound in my personal life, imagine what secrets the ultra-rich are using behind the curtain. So in this video, I'm breaking down 5 compounding secrets millionaires swear by. And I promise, by the time you hear the last one, you're gonna look at your money and honestly your whole daily routine very differently. Secret 1. Compounding knowledge, the millionaire's real currency. Here's the thing. Most people hear the word compounding and instantly think about money. Interest rates, investments, stocks, all that. But millionaires, they figured out early that the fastest compounding doesn't happen in their bank accounts first. It happens in their heads. Think about it like this. Every new piece of knowledge is like a brick. One brick isn't much, but if you stack one every day, books, podcasts, conversations with smart people, you're not just building a wall, you're building a fortress. And the crazy part, once you stack enough bricks, they start reinforcing each other. That's when connections spark, ideas overlap, and suddenly you're the guy or girl in the room everyone looks to for solutions. Most people stop learning after school. They treat education like something with an end date, but millionaires treat it like a subscription that never expires. Warren Buffett still spends about 5 to 6 hours every single day just reading and thinking, not investing, not trading, just reading. And he's in his 90s. That's proof that the richest minds in the world understand knowledge compounds just like money does, except faster. Imagine you start learning guitar. At first, it's clumsy. You're fighting with your fingers. But if you stick with it for 20 minutes a day, you don't just get better at playing songs, you start picking up rhythm naturally. Your ear sharpens, and suddenly you're creating music instead of just copying it. That layered improvement, that's compounding knowledge in action. Now swap the guitar for money, business, psychology, or sales, and you'll see why millionaires are obsessed with it. And here's where it gets interesting. Millionaires don't just learn randomly. They're strategic about it. They chase knowledge that multiplies other skills. For example, learning negotiation doesn't just make you good at deals. It makes you better at relationships, business, even buying your next car at a discount. Learning psychology, that doesn't just make you a better communicator. It helps you understand markets, advertising, even your own emotions. These are skills that pay dividends across every part of life. Here's something I noticed in my own life. The first time I really dove into finance books, I didn't get rich overnight. But what it did do was make me see the world differently. Suddenly, I understood why credit cards work the way they did, why some people seem to find opportunities everywhere, and why others were always broke no matter how much they earned. That shift in perspective became the foundation for smarter decisions. And those decisions, they stacked on each other, year after year. That's compounding. Most people are waiting for some lucky break. Millionaires, they manufacture their own luck by constantly feeding their brain. It's like a garden. You don't plant one seed and expect a forest. You plant a little every day, water it, protect it, and in time, you've got an ecosystem that grows on its own. That's how knowledge compounds. And if you're thinking, okay, but I don't have 5 hours a day to read, don't overcomplicate it. Even 20 minutes of focused learning daily adds up. 20 minutes a day for a year equals 122 hours. That's the equivalent of reading 10 to 15 solid books or listening to 200 plus podcasts. Stack that for 5 years, and you'll know more than 95% of people in your circle. And here's the kicker. People will start coming to you for answers. That's when opportunities find you. Millionaires know that the brain compounds faster than the bank account. And when your brain compounds, the money follows almost automatically. Secret 2. Compounding relationships. The millionaire network effect. Money grows when invested. Knowledge grows when applied. But relationships, they compound in a way that most people completely underestimate. Millionaires understand that the right connections are like equity stakes in people's lives. You invest time, trust, and value into others, and over the years, Those small seeds turn into opportunities you could never buy with cash. Think about your closest friend. You didn't become tight overnight. It started with a small interaction, maybe a laugh, a shared interest, a favor. Over time, layer by layer, that bond thickened. That's compounding in relationships. The return isn't instant, but the payoff is massive. Loyalty, support, collaboration. Millionaires play the same game, except they do it intentionally. Most people network like it's speed dating, handing out cards, shaking hands, trying to get something. That never compounds because it's transactional. Millionaires flip it. They play the long game. They give before they need. They add value first, and they invest in people without an immediate ask. A decade later, that early seed can bloom into a business deal, a partnership, or even just an introduction to someone game-changing. Here's a story I love. Years ago, a young entrepreneur offered to help a well-known investor for free, literally just running errands and taking notes in meetings. He didn't ask for money, he just wanted to learn. Fast forward 5 years, that same investor backed his first startup with millions. Why? Because the relationship had compounded, trust had been built, brick by brick, through years of small interactions. That's how millionaires think. They plant relationship seeds, knowing the tree will grow long after they've forgotten the moment they planted it. Imagine every person you meet is a bank account. If you only withdraw, asking for favors, expecting help, you go bankrupt in that relationship. But if you deposit regularly, encouragement, introductions, small acts of kindness, over time you build serious balance. And one day, when you genuinely need support, that account pays out in ways you couldn't have imagined. Millionaires are masters at making deposits before they ever think about withdrawals. And it's not about quantity. Millionaires don't need 10,000 acquaintances. They need a tight circle of high-quality relationships that compound over decades. Look at the way powerful business people work together. You'll notice they often collaborate with the same circle of trusted partners again and again. Why? Because trust compounds. Every deal that goes smoothly builds credibility. Every favor returned strengthens the bond. Over time, those small wins turn into empires built by teams, not individuals. Here's something practical. Start by thinking about the 5 people closest to you. Are they lifting you up or keeping you in place? Millionaires know the compounding power of proximity. You don't even have to cut people off. You just need to start shifting more of your time toward people who operate at the level you aspire to. Slowly, their habits, their thinking, their standards rub off on you. That's compounding by osmosis. And it works both ways. If you become the kind of person who consistently adds value, people want you in their circle. Over time, those relationships open doors to opportunities you could never reach alone. A single introduction might lead to a business deal that changes your life. A simple conversation might give you an idea that sparks your next breakthrough. And here's the wild part. You can't predict which small interaction will turn into the big one. That's why millionaires plant as many seeds as possible and keep watering them. Most people look at compounding as math. Millionaires look at it as people, because one person can change the trajectory of your entire life. Secret 3. Compounding habits, the hidden machinery of rich lives. Here's something nobody tells you. Millionaires don't wake up one morning with magical discipline or a bulletproof routine. They start small, tiny habits that don't look like much in the moment. But here's the trick. When you repeat those little actions day after day, they stack up invisibly until years later, people say, wow, they're so lucky, without realizing it was the compound interest of habits. Let's break it down. Think of brushing your teeth. You don't do it because it makes a huge difference today. You do it because 20 years from now, you don't want your dentist handing you a $10,000 bill. That's the compounding of hygiene. Now swap teeth for finances, health, and discipline, and you've got the blueprint of how millionaires build lives that look effortless. Most people try to change their lives with big, dramatic overhauls. I'm going to work out 2 hours every day starting Monday, or I'll save 50% of my paycheck. That's like trying to sprint a marathon. You burn out fast. Millionaires don't play that game. They focus on microscopic habits that seem boring at first. Things like reviewing their expenses every Sunday, writing down 3 priorities before bed, or reading 10 pages a night. These look small, almost laughable, but stack them over 10 years and the trajectory of your life is completely different. Let me give you a practical example. Say you save $10 a day by skipping takeout coffee. That's $3,650 a year. Invested, it could be worth hundreds of thousands in a few decades. But here's the twist. Millionaires don't just focus on the saved money. They focus on the discipline muscle that habit builds. Because once you prove to yourself that you can save $10, saving $100 becomes possible. That discipline compounds into bigger and bigger wins. Here's something personal. I once forced myself to write down 3 small wins at the end of each day. At first, it felt silly, like homework. But after a few months, I noticed my brain automatically scanning for progress throughout the day. I literally started living differently just to have something to write down at night. That single habit rewired my perspective, and after a year, my mindset was night and day from where it started. That's compounding psychology from a tiny, almost invisible daily ritual. Another thing millionaires understand, bad habits compound too. Procrastination, overspending, scrolling for hours, those are like financial termites. You don't notice the damage until the structure starts collapsing, which is why millionaires don't just build good habits, they actively cut out habits that drag them down. Not all at once, but piece by piece, like pulling weeds from a garden. And here's the cool part. Good habits create feedback loops. Working out improves your energy, which improves your focus, which improves your productivity, which makes you more money, which motivates you to keep working out. Millionaires engineer these loops on purpose, stacking habit upon habit until their life feels like it's running on autopilot in the right direction. At the end of the day, compounding habits are the quiet gears turning behind every millionaire lifestyle. They're not flashy, they're not Instagram worthy, but over years, they produce results so big they look like magic. Secret 4. Compounding decisions. Tiny choices that tilt the future. Here's something that flies under the radar. Millionaires don't just compound money, knowledge, or habits, they compound decisions. Every small yes or no today quietly shapes the next 5 years. And the wild part? Most people don't even realize they're playing this game until they're already on the losing side of it. Think of it like this. You're standing at a fork in the road every single day. One path looks easy, comfortable, quick. The other path looks harder, slower, maybe even boring. Most people pick the easy one. It feels good in the moment. Millionaires? They've trained themselves to tilt toward the choice that compounds long term, even if it stings a little up front. That's why, while everyone else is chasing short-term relief, millionaires are stacking long-term advantages. Take money as an example. You get a bonus check. Most people think vacation, new gadget, upgrade the car, instant dopamine. Millionaires think, where can this dollar work for me over the next 10 years? Same money, different decision. Multiply that by 100 little financial decisions across a decade, and you've got the difference between being stuck in debt and having assets throwing off cash flow. Here's something personal. Years ago, I made the choice to say yes to a project that honestly didn't pay much and looked like a side distraction. But I figured, why not? Worst case, I learned something. That single yes connected me to a person who later introduced me to another opportunity, one that ended up paying 50 times more than the original gig. Looking back, that first yes was the seed. It didn't look like much then, but it compounded into something massive. Millionaires collect those seeds deliberately. And here's where it gets really powerful. Compounding decisions create what's called optionality. The more smart choices you stack, the more doors open. And once more doors open, you get access to even better choices. It's like climbing a staircase. Each step is a decision, and from higher ground, you can see opportunities that weren't even visible before. That's why the rich seem to always have options. It's not luck, it's layered decision-making. Another thing millionaires do differently, they avoid decision fatigue. They know willpower is limited, so they automate or simplify low-value choices. what to wear, what to eat, small daily stuff. They strip the energy cost out of it. That way, their mental bandwidth is reserved for high-leverage decisions, the ones that compound. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day, not because he lacked taste, but because he didn't want to waste energy on a choice that wouldn't matter in 5 years. And they're not obsessed with being perfect either. Millionaires know they'll get some decisions wrong. It's inevitable. But here's the key. They learn quickly and adjust instead of doubling down on bad calls. In other words, they don't let one wrong turn poison the whole journey, because even mistakes, when handled well, can compound into lessons that save them millions later. So while most people think compounding is just about money growing in an account, millionaires know it's also about decisions quietly shaping destiny. Each small choice today, what you read, who you talk to, where you put your energy, tilts the direction of your entire future. And the crazy part? 5 years from now, you'll barely remember the exact moment you made the call, but you'll be living in the compounded reality of it. Secret 5, compounding time, turning hours into lifelong leverage. Here's the truth that most people avoid. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, but millionaires treat time like it's their most valuable investment. They don't just spend time, they compound it. And that doesn't mean working longer hours. It means structuring their hours so that each one creates ripples far beyond the moment it's used. Think about mowing your lawn. You can spend 2 hours every weekend pushing a mower, or you can pay someone $30 and free those 2 hours to brainstorm business ideas, build a side hustle, or even just recharge your mind so you can operate sharper the next week. Most people think of that $30 as an expense. Millionaires see it as buying back time that can be reinvested. That mindset shift is everything. Here's an analogy. Imagine planting a fruit tree. The first few years, it doesn't look like much. You're watering it, trimming it, maybe even wondering if it'll ever grow. But one day, it starts producing fruit. And from then on, it feeds you season after season. That's how millionaires see time. They plant it into things that give returns long after the initial effort. Business systems, investments, content, relationships. 1 hour today creates benefits for years. Most people treat time like it's endless, but millionaires know it's scarce. That's why they're ruthless about saying no. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something that could have compounded. They guard their calendars like hawks, not because they're antisocial, but because they know where their hours go, their future follows. Here's something practical. Look at how millionaires build systems. Instead of answering the same email 500 times, they create a template or hire an assistant. Instead of trading hours for dollars, they create businesses or investments that generate income while they sleep. It's the same 24 hours, but by compounding their time, they get exponential output. And they don't just delegate tasks, they delegate decisions. That's next level. A millionaire doesn't just hire someone to schedule meetings, they hire someone who knows which meetings are even worth scheduling. That way, they free up mental space to focus on the moves that really matter. Every time they offload, they multiply. So when people say time is money, millionaires quietly smile because they know time, once compounded, becomes far more powerful than money. Money lost can be made back. Time wasted is gone forever, which is why at the end of the day, compounding time is the ultimate millionaire secret, the one that makes all the other secrets possible. Now here's the thing, none of these secrets are out of reach. They don't require millions in the bank to start. You can literally begin today with one small shift, one book, one conversation, one decision, one habit, one way of protecting your time. Over months and years, that stack grows. And before you even realize it, you're living in the compounded reality of it. If this video gave you even one new perspective, do me a favor, hit that like button so I know to make more content like this. Subscribe if you want to keep diving deeper into money, psychology, and building a rich life. And hey, share this with a friend who's serious about leveling up too, because trust me, these secrets hit differently when the people around you are applying them too. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me, and remember, Compounding works whether you're paying attention or not. So make it work for you.